Hello, this is my video documentation for my computer science internal assessment Ejournal. The client of this project is actually myself. I'm creating a journaling application for myself, and it is dubbed Ejournal. The product will be gone over with reference to my success criteria in Criterion A and my test plan in Criterion B. So when the user starts up the program, they reach this start screen. Then when they press the start application button, it takes them to the password screen. If we were to implement an incorrect password, then it would not let us through. And then if we were to do that 3 times in a row, then it says too many failed attempts and it closes the program. So then we can reopen it, and if we put in the correct password, then it would give us access to the main menu. This completes the success criteria number 4, and it gets the job done, but it's not really all that secure, as in the user can just even if they get it wrong and it closes the program, they can just reopen it and just keep trying. And the password is also preset in the code, so it's not really all that secure. So a future extension to this code could probably be having a lockout system. In the most basic sense, it could just add a lockout system, you get it wrong 3 times in a row, then 5 minutes, then after that 10 minutes, then after that 1 hour. It would not be that complex of an addition. So when you load up the main menu, among the first things you can notice is that on the side there's a randomly generated quote. And this is derived from a website online. It's an API, and once you close this, you can prove that it's a randomly generated quote every single time by re-inputting the password, and it's a new quote. This fulfills success criteria number 5, which is having a randomly generated quote per launch. And this could potentially be improved by having a reload quote button at the bottom, or maybe even giving the original link to the website where the quote was derived. There's a quote ID at the end of every link, so it would give you a quote exactly this quote. So that could possibly be an addition. So then moving on, if the user wants to start journaling now, they press the journal button. If the user presses cancel, nothing happens. Then if you press OK without selecting any mood or leaving that null, then it says you must select the mood before journaling. So this makes it so that you have to select a mood before you continue, and you can leave the journal entry in, you can leave it empty if you want, but you have to select a mood every time. So we're gonna look through the list, and you can just pick anything you want. So I'm gonna pick happy, and then it moves on to the journaling section. This completes success criteria number 2, which is you can input your current mood, and it can be built upon by maybe having a longer mood list as for one thing. But if we want to make it more complex, we can maybe make it like a checklist. The user gets to select multiple things, are you happy and content? Are you happy and depressed at the same time somehow? I don't know, but that would be a possible extension to it. So in the written journal entry section, we can put whatever we want. So for the first entry, we're going to put nothing, and that gets saved once it loads, and then we check it out, and there's nothing saved for the entry, but since the mood is mandatory, that's saved, and there's also a time, and we'll get back to the time later, but we're going to try a second entry, which has special characters and special fonts, and that gets saved, and then once we open it, we can see it also gets saved, but we can also notice another thing. It gets directly appended afterwards. So all this is in sequential order of when it was inputted. So the first entry here was put in at 349, my bad. And then the most recent one was put at 355. This highlights my attempts to record this session, right? And we can also try another thing with if we put in a mood, but we press cancel on this one, just nothing gets saved from that attempt. So nothing from 356 over here. And this fully completes success criteria number 3 with how you can also put in a text of infinite length, over here. It just goes on for a long time. It's also what's causing the loading issue. And it can put any sort of character without corruption, and there's pretty much no feasible limit to entries. However, a few extensions to this project in this section could be in the actual written section, the user has no option to put any characters by themselves bold. You have to copy paste the bold from other places. You have to write it somewhere else, then copy paste it in here, which isn't all that practical. And since you want this journaling operation to be all-in-one, it would probably be better to have an option to bold certain text or italicize certain text in here. So that could be a potential upgrade for criterion number 3. So moving backwards a bit to my previous point of contention there was, if we go to the past entries, you can see that every single entry has a date and time attached to it, and it fully completes success criteria number 6, but a possible extension to it must be explained by showing another criteria. So if we close and reopen the application, we can see that every single entry is persistently stored because it's on a separate text file aside from the application. So it is always saved, and this completes success criteria number 1. However, there's a caveat. It does not fully solve it because the criteria says the user must be able to create, edit, and save journal entries, and there's no editing feature. So a good way to fully maximize the potential of criteria 6 and fully complete success criteria number 1 is to implement an editing feature into this application. And that could possibly be done by implementing a search feature where the application parses through the text file or a database if we convert all of the data into like a database structure instead. And it parses through the entire text file and it finds the date that is associated with it. And because it's always in a consistent format, that's pretty easy. And the user is able to view it specifically and then also be able to edit it or delete it or do whatever they want with that entry. So that could be a possible extension to criterion number 6 and a completion to success criterion number 1. And for the final success criterion, we have the general GUI flow and the general navigation speed of the application. And generally, I'd say it is pretty smooth. Everything does happen pretty fast, and every button does complete its function pretty fast. And the API does load like pretty much instantly when you reach this page, because the rest of the application does like take a little bit of time to pass by. And this takes like a little bit of time to load up too, so it does work. The only bottleneck here would be the View Past Entries button. It does take a little bit of time to load up, and as the amount of entries gets more and more, it will take more and more time to load up. So possibly a fix for it could be having an archive past entries and a immediate past entries button. Immediate past entries is like the last 10 entries, and then after that they just get appended onto like another text file with like all the archives or like another database or like something like that. But generally it is pretty smooth, so I'll give the criteria a pass. And finally, I have my two possible extensions for this project. One is encryption, where generally when you write in a journal right now, you can just write whatever you want, and when it's saved, it would be encrypted, and then when you view past entries, it would be decrypted. So on the file itself, it would be encrypted, so you can't just like click the .text file and then just see all the entries. It would definitely increase the security of this project by a lot by having only this application be able to view the entries as it has the key. And the second extension would possibly be a calendar system. And both of these were scrapped, but the calendar was basically going to be like, instead of having a view past entries button, it just has a calendar. And if you click on a specific date, you can see all the entries made on that date. So if I click on February 20th, I would see all the entries made on February 20th. And that is all I have for my project. Thank you for watching, and yeah.